what was Operation Midnight Climax, and how did that all come together?
Gottlieb had all sorts of ideas about how he was going to use drugs. And he wanted to test drugs in all sorts of different situations. Like, if they lock you inside a coffin for a week and feed you this kind of drug and that kind of drug, what's going to happen? So one of his ideas was drugs and sex. What happens if certain drugs are fed to men before or during or after they're having sex? And will they speak? That was part of the whole MK Ultra idea, to break down prisoners, to break down the barriers that make you keep secrets and not tell things. So, could there be some combination of sex and drugs that would unlock this mystery? To do this, Gottlieb set up a bordello in San Francisco, up on Telegraph Hill. He had an apartment with mirrors and all the accoutrements, like Toulouse-Lautrec prints on the wall. And then he had a couple of guys working for him. They hired the girls, and the girls' job was to bring their clients back to this apartment. There the clients would then be fed some kind of drug, whatever it was that Gottlieb was interested in trying that month. And then there would be somebody, usually somebody who is not a scientist, doesn't have the slightest idea about psychology or anything like that, probably some drug cop, sitting behind a one-way mirror on a portable toilet, drinking cocktails out of a pitcher and making notes about what he's seeing. So Gottlieb was operating what amounted to a national security whorehouse in San Francisco, and using tax dollars to pay prostitutes in an effort to stop communism from taking over the United States, or giving America a tool to win the Cold War. In the course of writing this book and researching the different strands that went into Gottlieb, I naturally tried to follow everything I could about this Operation Midnight Climax, as the bordello operation in San Francisco was colloquially called. And I found one interesting piece of testimony. It was buried in a giant cache of documents that a lawyer had accumulated who was following a case against Gottlieb for more than 20 years. So I found this a piece of testimony from a guy who had been one of the people that ran the Operation Midnight Climax bordello. And he said, I'm going to clean it up a little. Gottlieb was really interested in sex, and every time he came to San Francisco to come and look at our project, he wanted me to set him up with girls. It was the first thing he wanted as soon as he got here. So later on, I began to wonder, this was a nice perk of the job for him. But it's, even by MK Ultra standards, it is a kind of a stretch to think that you're going to find the secret of mind control by hiring hookers to bring people in and drink funny drinks before they have sex. So could it have possibly been just part of Gottlieb's original motivation? Here I am, a guy in my middle age, and I'm married with my family, and boy, I've got the CIA budget. Why don't I set myself up with some business that I have in San Francisco that I have to go and visit and monitor regularly?
Yeah.
So possibly that quintessentially testosterone-driven middle-aged man motivation could have fed into one of the most bizarre of all the MK Ultra projects.
Yeah, it's like the Secret Service version of a midlife crisis, and it's like you have access to all this money and resources, and you call your buddies and you're like, hey, what if we just set up safe houses across the country and gave people drugs and watch them have sex and see what happens? And your friends are like, yeah, like, fuck it, let's do it.
And then we can take advantage. We have all these girls working for us. And that's the other thing the guy said in his deposition. He said, and all those girls, they never charged Gottlieb. They always did it as a favor to me.